So, Frank, can you go to mute? Thanks. This is the Land Use Committee meeting, and the date is September 10th, 2024. And we'll go around and introduce ourselves and have that be our roll call. My name is Ann Mazar, and I'm the chair of the committee. And Carolyn Barthel just walked in.
I'm Carolyn Barthel, alternate member. Alternative, what about that?
Elena.
I'm Elena Brugos. I'm the select board member of the committee.
Frank.
Frank Nero, member Land Use Committee.
Thank you, and Barry.
Barry Iderola, planning board representative.
Great. Did you all get a chance to look at the minutes of the 4:30 and 7:30 meetings?
I did not.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Actually, I don't need this, do I?
Second on that?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Elena seconded it.
Yep. All right, all those in favor, why don't we start with Elena?
Okay. Brugos, aye.
Frank, aye.
Wait, I guess it was a Frank aye and a Barry aye.
Looks like somebody's calling in.
Peter's just joining.
Hi, Peter. Peter is the representative from the Conservation Commission. Did you get a chance to look at the April 30th and July 30th minutes?
Yes, I did. So I would vote aye if that's to approve.
Okay. All right, great. So that's all set. Uh-oh, it's echoing. Oh, Carolyn, don't turn your.
No, that's me. I was fine. I'm just going to go. That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Just put you on mute. Right, I think should vote for a chair and secretary. I'm happy to do the chair position, but if there's someone else that wants to do it, speak.
I'll make a motion. We appoint Ann Mazar as chair and Frank Nero as secretary.
I'll second that. Peter
All right,
seconds.
any discussion? All right,
You're
all
doing a
those.
great job.
All those in favor?
Peter,
Carolyn.
aye.
Aye.
Right, so that was a Carolyn I, Elena I, Peter I.
Barry, aye.
Frank, aye, or abstain.
No,
Yeah.
aye.
I'll vote aye.
And I'm an I. All right, the next item is the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant. I submitted it about 3 weeks ago, and what that is to get some seed money to have a 10-hour-a-week energy coordinator. And so I put in for 20 months at $38,000. That would be salary, health, retirement, and that would be 10 hours a week. So I'm just waiting to hear back on that. And Isabella has 10 extra hours, and so the idea is that she would, fill that space if we get the funding, and then the town would pick up the cost after that. So we'll see if we get the grant. Yeah, it's very needed.
Yeah. Energy assessing is only going to get more complicated.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of programs that we can take advantage of and grants, and so
Yeah.
have someone on it. That's a step or something. Right? So any questions on that?
Sounds like a good idea. Thank you for
Okay.
making that happen.
Well, we'll see if it happens. We tried, we tried.
Where's the grants coming from? Would come from?
Where is the grant coming from? Oh, Green Communities. It's a Green Communities grant.
Okay, great.
So the next item is a trail grant, which we hope to do. We received the $3,000 at the town meeting to engineer the trail that would kind of start at Route 16 and go on some neighboring property. And then another trail that would start at 131 North Avenue and go through the Vandersloot property and into Hopedale. But we're sort of stuck on two parts. One is that on 131 North Avenue, we're waiting for Karis to help us follow through on that. So Elena, I'm gonna talk to Jeremy tomorrow, but if there's anything you can do, you know, that's wonderful, because we can't write the grant until we, you know,
Okay. Right,
can have the engineer done the trails. And-
I'm meeting with Jeremy on Thursday. Did you say you're meeting with him tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, yeah.
Okay.
But it would be great if you could push that along.
Okay.
And then the other end, there's a property that's part of like some condos that are in Mendon on Dudley Road. And we're trying to talk to the condominium association to see if they want us to use some of the open space that they have in the back to do a trail loop. But we're having a hard time getting in touch with someone. Isabella's tried. And I don't know, Frank, have you had any success?
I have not seen anyone. I might have to actually take a walk down there and maybe knock on a door, but don't really do that.
Yeah,
How many homes are in that condominium association?
I think it's like 12. And
I
so
would
we,
say, yeah, there's probably 6 or 7 duplex units, so about a dozen units.
Okay.
Isabella is in conversation with somebody in the condo association, but I am not sure how far she's gotten, so I'm gonna get in touch with her also, and we need to have a meeting also to talk about the details of it. So I think the people that would be involved would be Isabella, Frank, if you're interested, Dan Byer, Parks and Rec, Diane Howell, because she's interested in ADA, part of it being ADA, myself, and anyone else who's interested. So I'll send to the whole land use committee when we pull a meeting together.
Well, it would also, I don't know if the homeowners, if one of us knew one of the homeowners, that would be the way to go, no? A personal touch, but I don't know if, I doubt if I know anybody there, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, actually, someone from that association would also be in on the meeting once we found somebody and there was some agreement that maybe we could use the property. It'd be nice for them. They'd have a trail, you know, that they could access and then it would give public a nice little loop trail.
How much space is this?
On the property, I think it's like 30 acres, so
Oh,
it'd just be a loop in the 30 acres, but then it would come back on the town property.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
You know, that's not just a little, that's a serious endeavor.
yeah, and that's all we got, the $3,000 to do the engineering, so that when we write the trail grant, we can say, this is what we wanna do, this is what we need.
Yeah. I just had this is the first I've heard of this possibility, so that sounds great.
Yeah, so we'll keep you updated on that.
And in that area, is the condo association the only private property that this trail will cross?
It would also cross 131 North Avenue, and Gary Smith, who owns the property, is in agreement with it, but we need to have something legal put together. And there's also like this situation where it's a long story, but when the town gave the gift of the land because the library wasn't built and the town wasn't doing anything with it, back to John Gannett, we had to go through a whole process of town meeting and, you know, the state legislature and everything had to vote on it. And so the town gave the land back to John Gannett and then to Gary Smith, who has a nonprofit. And so we wanted to ensure that Gary Smith would put a conservation restriction on it. And so at the Registry of Deeds, there's a document filed that says that if the conservation restriction isn't done within 2 years of this transfer of the property, the land will transfer back to the town. And it was like an insurance, just to make sure the conservation restriction would be done. But it did take longer than the 2 years, just because it did, not because, Gary was difficult or anything like that. It just, volunteers took time. So Gary actually wants to sell the property to Mr. Meehan. And his lawyer saw that clause, and they don't want to buy it and then have it revert back to the town. So we need to.
Wait a minute. So he wanted to sell it to me and then?
But Mr. Meehan's lawyer saw the document that was at the registry of deeds and knows that the conservation restriction was filed after that 2-year period. So they don't want to buy the property and then have it revert back to the town, because legally that's what should happen.
Okay.
So we want to work with Karis to figure out how to resolve that so that that wouldn't happen, but then also to get a trailhead and a trail easement on 131.
So let me ask you this question. I'm sorry to be so ignorant about this, but so does Meehan want to actually buy the property and with the restriction?
Yeah, the front half of the property can be used for agriculture, and that's what he wants to use it for.
Okay.
And excuse me, this is Peter, but if the restriction, yes, it took more than 2 years to get that easement, but that is in place. I'm no lawyer, but I would think that voided that or someone can make that decision that had to be done within 2 years no longer applies because the effect was achieved.
Well, that's what I have to figure out with town council, because their lawyer is concerned.
Yeah, well, that's what lawyers get paid for, to bring up gnarly questions, but okay.
Yeah. So
And I was also curious, at the end of that cul-de-sac off of Brookview, I think it's called, town owns land there that will go up to 131 North Ave. I'm just curious, if someone were going to access a trailhead at the end of the cul-de-sac, I presume.
well,
I'm
the
not aware
trailhead,
of any town-owned land.
the trailhead would not be on the private property of the condo association. That trailhead would be on town property. Because there was some misunderstanding there. It would be like, if the senior community center gets built, it would probably be right in that location. If it doesn't get built, it would be somewhere on that town property.
And I think I saw some feedback maybe in one of your emails. I don't know who gave the feedback, and I think it applies to this cul-de-sac. Did they ask about parking and
Yes.
that sort of? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
curious if you got that sort of feedback from the neighbors before anyone approached them. They may have some upfront concerns. I didn't know how that was going to be addressed.
Yeah, on that property, there would be no parking, there would be no trailhead. It would just be a loop trail that they could access. On that part of the property, the trailhead would be on town property.
Okay.
That's the plan. And then eventually, possibly the north and the south trail could connect, but right at this point, we don't have that connection. But in the future, you never know what land comes up for sale, and it could connect. That would be the goal. But
Yeah,
there's still nice trails on the
and did
road.
we have a trail map in case the homeowners had asked or the association had asked? I thought at one point we might have circulated a proposed trail map. I think it would be good to be able to show anyone, on paper what we're referring to.
Yeah, let's see if I can show you. And this is a really rough map. Let me see, wait. Just have to find it. So.
if not, Ann, I'm sure we can take a look at that. I just thinking approaching anyone over there.
Yeah, I can definitely get you something and I can send it to the committee. I have a really, basic map that I can't find right now. But I will send that out to you, okay?
Thank you.
Also, my battery is really low.
Oh,
So, I wonder if. I just need to plug my computer in.
is it?
What else do we have on the agenda?
Well, I just want to try to find a plug so I can plug my computer in. I don't see any plugs. Wait, just wait 1 second. Die in the middle of the meeting.
Oh, there's nothing there.
I don't know what it is. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys.
This one up here. Okay, great.
Okay. Reach. Okay. So I will send you those maps, which, like I said, was me like just drawing on a map. It's very not specific, because that's why we needed the engineering money to figure out, I don't know where the rocks and the trees and the wetlands are and everything. And that's why we need to have the trails engineered. So, okay. Then the other things are just updates. That meta grant, we got funding for, and it's to do energy assessments on the town hall, fire station, and highway. And so right now, Rise Engineering is working on that, and we haven't heard back from them. It took us a while to pull together the energy data, because they needed that for each building. And so that's in process, and hopefully they'll be able to help us write a Green Communities grant in the fall. Let's see. On 75 Providence Street, we received, and I probably mentioned this, but we received a technical assistance grant from Mass Housing. And it was for a little bit over $50,000. And then the town put in $5,000 plus from CPA funds. And they're gonna help us figure out like what we could do with the front part of 75 Providence Street in terms of affordable housing. Especially since we don't
Is
have.
that the Morrison house? Sorry.
The paddock, yeah, it's the paddock.
Paddock house there? Yeah. Sorry.
So that should get going soon, and hopefully then we'll have a plan of what's possible there for affordable housing, probably like the first 5 or 10 acres, and then the rest would be open space
How
behind
much
it.
space is it?
In terms of the paddock property,
Just total property?
60 acres.
Oh, wow.
So this would just be the front part, and hopefully be able to use the house and the barn somehow, and then maybe, some kind of units behind that. But, and then you probably all know that the municipal aggregation went through finally, which was really cool. And I don't know if you saw the ad in the newspaper, but it had all the information on it, and it seems to be going pretty smoothly. I mean,
Certainly the information was really quite thorough, and I don't know what the results are, what the numbers are, final numbers are so far about enrollments, but it didn't really seem as though people had a lot of questions. It seemed as though you had a pretty good understanding of how it all works.
yeah, and basically the municipal aggregation is anyone that was getting their energy through National Grid was switched over to direct energy, and the price per kilowatt was less than National Grid, but it included more renewable energy. Right?
Yeah.
So that was nice to have that finally go through.
Yes.
After years.
Yeah, it would have been 5 years in August.
Whoa. Yeah, so, and this is why Carolyn is on the committee to work on this, so thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome. I'm so delighted that we've actually pulled this off.
Yes, me too.
I'll be really curious to see what the numbers are about enrollment.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully have those for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Has anybody been to the Inman Hill Trail that has been started? I sent you all like a photo of what they had started doing, but has anybody been up there?
Yeah, I did.
No, that's Becky's working around there in the,
Yeah.
so it's gone well so far, I take it?
I went over the whole thing.
What, Barry?
I went over the whole thing.
And did it look okay?
I wasn't happy with it. It's
No.
supposed to be 6 feet wide, right?
Yes.
No, it's a lot more than that. That brownfield that we talked about being a sanctuary and a bedding area and everything is devastated. Some areas, some areas are 20 feet wide. She dropped lower than we discussed, curled back up. They pushed the brush off to a side and the piles along the side. Even along the fields on the stone wall, they piled the brush up on the stone wall. Are they putting anything down on the gravel, or is that it?
And in the hayfield areas, they're just gonna leave it as, you know, just cleared. But then on some of the other areas that were wet, a little bit wet, they were gonna put, I think, some stones.
The dry areas will stay just as they are. They're just cleared dirt.
Yes, I believe so.
So they'll grow back.
And
Grass anyway, but like I said,
yeah,
I was disappointed that the brush piles were just pushed aside and left there. That's gonna take a long while to decompose. But it's a lot wider than 6 feet, that's for sure.
okay.
I could drive a car through there and still have plenty of room on both sides. Some places,
Okay.
they're close to 20 feet wide. I don't understand it, but it's done. Damage is
Okay,
done.
I'll ask Becky about that and I'll get back to everybody with what she says. I have not had time to get up there and I won't.
Well, if you ever get a chance to do it, just walk it.
Okay, yeah, and anyone else, please go up and check it out.
Are they tops of the trees or the brush? Because trees shouldn't be more than like 2 feet above, or is it small spindly stuff, or is it more tops of trees is be my question.
That's
The
everything.
brush cleared. Is everything?
It's everything.
Okay, I'll go out and look at it myself, but
Yeah, that'd be great, Peter. And I'll ask Becky what happened, you know, I mean, because that's not what we agreed to.
No, we're pretty adamant about it too. So the next time they want to do something, we'll have to think long and hard on it.
Yeah,
You know, like I said, my biggest concern was that brownfield, and it's not what we agreed to.
so they went down too far, then they didn't stay closer to the wall.
They didn't stay close to the wall. They went in and then they went down and then they came back up. Where they exited was where they're supposed to. But if you walk what they did, they looped down, not as far as she had it marked, but she went down further than she was supposed to. But like I said, it's wider than it's supposed to be. First of all, it was only supposed to be 6 feet wide. And he had a mini machine in there that was 6 feet wide. You know, because I went through when he was doing it.
Yeah. Huh.
But they cleared a lot more area than they should have. That needed to be done. That's for sure. But thank God it'll grow back. But like I said, my concern is the decomposition of the brush piles. That's going to take a while.
Yeah, I wonder, would it be better if the brush pile was in like one location or?
No, absolutely not. There's just too much.
no, the answer is to cut it up finer and spread it out so it's more in contact with the ground, usually. I'm not sure how much there is, but
It's just pushed and piled. I mean, some of the piles are over 6 feet tall.
yeah, no, that's ugly.
Nice.
Right. Okay, well, when I am back, because I have to leave tomorrow, I will check it out. And I will, in the meantime, though, contact Becky.
Yeah, I don't want anybody in there now. It's well after August 1st, as far as doing anything else.
You meaning like in terms of the trail work?
Well, we agreed that that they would stop working as of August 1st.
Okay.
On the brownfield area, but they could work in the field area and they could work in the other area, but I mean, the machines are gone, so I assume he's done. All the equipment's gone.
All right, so field work could be done, but not in the woods.
Not in the brownfield, not in that lower brownfield. That's gotta recover.
Okay. Thank you for checking it out, Barry.
Oh, I spent a lot of time up there. Season's coming.
Yeah.
Season
Okay, well.
opens. Your season opens in less than a month.
Uh-huh.
Wow, yeah.
Well, next month we'll report back with what we find out. Okay. The Denton property, we're still working on that. And that's another thing with, the town council, we're waiting for her to pull together the purchase and sale agreement. And that's taken like a really long time. May 22nd.
Oh my
I've been
goodness.
waiting. So, Elena, I'm gonna bring that up to Jeremy, but I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, you know, at this point. Like, we've gotten one copy of the purchase and sale, and then we made like teeny little changes, and we're just waiting for her to give it back so that we can at least give it to Peter's lawyer, you know, so he could look at it. So again,
Okay,
I mean, it's really ridiculous at this
Right.
point.
okay.
And I've been so patient, I really have.
You have been patient. Yeah,
It's more important that Peter's been patient, but yes.
I know. Yeah, and he has been patient, but he's getting a little like, what is going on, you know? And we're,
Yeah, he mentioned that, yes.
yeah. So
okay.
that's where that's at. And we're also like doing other work around it, but we need the purchase and sale agreement, obviously. And last thing is Green Communities grant, but we won't know what we want to submit until that meta grant is complete. And that's all I had. Does anybody else have anything?
Just that I talked with Isabella today, and she and I are going to schedule a meeting with the homeowner who is using some of the open spaces at Millville Road there.
Oh,
So
okay,
we haven't
great.
scheduled that yet, but we want to make that happen in the next couple of weeks.
Great. And actually, you mentioned Isabella. Isabella would also be included in the trail work. She's really interested in trails. Thank you, Peter, for meeting with that neighbor.
Well, we will, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? No? All right. Would someone like to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Peter second.
Frank fourth.
All right. All those in favor?
Brugos, aye.
Nero, I.
Peter, aye.
Barry, aye.
Okay.
Carolyn, I.
And I. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you at least in the next month. Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
you.
Ann.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Go.
You know, I've been sitting in on these meetings for a long enough time. I still don't really understand some of the process. And, you know, and I still don't understand some of the questions that people are asking.